Let us be honest with each other right now, not to blame ourselves and not to push or force anything. Just a very quiet truth. You open your eyes in the morning. The room looks familiar. The light feels the same as every day. Yet inside, something feels slightly off. You can sense clearly that you are not where you want to be in your life. You get up and move through familiar motions, but a subtle feeling follows you, as if you are moving forward, yet not truly progressing. Time does not stop. Year after year passes quickly, and a gentle fear arises whenever you think about the future. Not the fear of failure, but the fear of waking up one morning in 2026 and realizing that everything inside you is still exactly the same. In the teachings of the Buddha, the mind is the root of every path. When the mind does not change, the direction of life does not change. And if there is a place to begin again, it is not a new year, but this very morning. In this video, we will gently walk together through 10 morning habits. Not to force ourselves to be strong, but to slowly rebuild strength from within. Habit 1. Waking up without rushing to become someone. Mornings often begin very quickly. The moment you open your eyes, the mind automatically calls out familiar roles. The one who must take care of things, the one who carries responsibility, the one who must try harder, the one who is not allowed to be weak. In just a few brief seconds, you become the person of yesterday again, carrying pressures that were never fully set down the day before. Many people do not realize that this very moment lays the foundation for the entire day. When you wake up and the mind immediately rushes to become someone, the rest of the day turns into a series of reactions. We react to work. We react to other people's words. We react to the fear of losing control. And by the end of the day, we are exhausted because we have lived with a mind that is constantly tense. In Buddhist teachings, letting go does not mean abandoning life. Letting go means pausing the act of clinging. When we loosen our grip on the idea of a self that must constantly hold everything together, the mind begins to have space to breathe. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from clinging to an image of who we think we must be. This is why the morning is the most suitable time to gently set that image down before it has a chance to control the entire day. The practice of this habit is very simple. In the first 30 seconds after waking up, do not touch your phone. Do not allow the outside world to enter your mind too early. Lie still or sit up slowly. Feel your body being present on the bed. Feel the natural rhythm of the breath as it moves in and out. There is nothing you need to change. After that, you may whisper softly, just enough for yourself to hear. This morning, I allow myself to simply be me. There is no need to be perfect, no need to be strong, no need to prove anything. Just a human being beginning the day with full presence. This habit does not ask you to destroy the ego or deny who you have been. It simply invites you to loosen your grip, like setting down a heavy bag for a moment. When you no longer rush to become someone, the mind softens. And from that softness, inner strength begins to be nourished naturally. Habit 2. Returning to the breath at the beginning of the day. After gently setting down the image of who you think you must be, the morning needs a foundation so the mind does not drift away. That foundation is the breath. Many people wake up and immediately feel their mind racing. Plans appear, worries arise. Unfinished matters from yesterday push their way in. The body may still be resting, but the mind has already rushed ahead. When the mind runs like this, the entire day easily becomes tangled and exhausting. In the teachings of the Buddha, the breath is always the simplest path of return. The Buddha taught that when the in-breath is clearly known, the mind has a place to settle. When the out-breath is clearly seen, the mind no longer wanders. The breath is not used to control life. The breath simply helps us be fully present with this moment. And from that presence, inner strength begins to form. This second habit does not require rigid discipline. It does not ask for force or excessive effort. What it needs most is consistency in a gentle attitude. Each morning, After waking and before stepping into any activity, give a very short moment to your breath. Then begin to follow 5 slow breaths. As the breath comes in, the abdomen gently rises. As the breath goes out, the abdomen slowly falls. There is no need to breathe deeply or extend the breath. Just allow it to move in its most natural rhythm. While breathing, the mind may continue to think. That is not a problem. When you notice that you are thinking, simply return to the sensation of the breath beneath the hand on your abdomen. No blaming. No pushing thoughts away. Each time you return in this way, the mind is trained to stay. Gradually, you will notice that after only a few slow breaths, the inner rhythm begins to change. This habit does not create strength through tension. It creates strength through stability. When every morning begins with the breath, the mind gains a point of support. From that support, you step into the day more slowly, more clearly, and more steadily. The breath becomes a thread that guides you back at any moment during the day, especially when the mind starts to become restless and lost. This daily return, repeated each morning, quietly builds a resilient inner strength without requiring you to strain or push. Habit 3. Sitting in silence with yourself. When the morning already has the breath as a point of support, the next step is to give the mind real space. Not to escape from life, but to return inward before stepping back out. Most of us are afraid of silence. Just a few minutes without sound and the mind becomes restless. We quickly look for something to fill the space. A piece of news, a video, a conversation. Yet it is this constant filling that prevents the mind from ever truly resting. In Buddhism, silence is not isolation. Silence is the space where we can clearly see what is moving inside us. When the noise falls away, familiar patterns begin to appear. Worry, desire, old memories, even the things we usually avoid. The Buddha taught that it is only in silence that we can hear the true voice of the mind. Not to judge it, but to recognize it. Morning is a very suitable time for this return. When the world is still slow, when the rhythm of life has not yet pulled us too far, just a few minutes of sitting quietly can already make a difference. Sitting still does not mean reaching a special state. Sitting still simply means allowing the body and the mind to be here together in this moment. The practice of this habit is very simple. You may sit on the bed, on a chair, or on the floor. Choose a position that feels reasonably comfortable. The back does not need to be perfectly straight. The hands can rest lightly on the thighs or be placed together. Then you simply sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. There is nothing you need to do. No need to be good at meditation. No need to control your thoughts. During this time, thoughts will certainly arise. That is natural. When you notice that you are thinking, gently acknowledge that the mind is thinking, then return to the feeling of the body sitting. It might be the sensation of the feet touching the ground. It might be the feeling of the breath moving in and out. There is no right or wrong in this experience. Sitting in this way does not separate you from life. On the contrary, it helps you enter the day with fuller presence. When you allow the mind to be alone in silence, you create conditions for tension to settle. From there, you react less quickly to what happens around you. You begin to hear more clearly what is truly happening inside yourself. Habit 4. Observing the mind instead of judging yourself. Many people begin the morning with a silent conversation with themselves. That conversation often carries the tone of blame. Why am I still anxious? Why have I not changed? Why am I so weak? When something uncomfortable arises in the mind, the familiar reflex is to turn against ourselves. This very reflex makes the mind heavier and gradually strips away its natural softness. In the original script, there's a strong emphasis on taking full responsibility. A person needs to look directly at their own life instead of blaming circumstances. When this idea is brought into the spirit of Buddhism, responsibility no longer takes the form of self-condemnation. Responsibility becomes awareness, no blaming, just seeing. When we clearly see what is happening in the mind, the capacity for transformation has already begun. The Buddha taught that seeing clearly is the beginning of liberation. Seeing clearly does not mean analyzing or fixing. Seeing clearly means direct recognition, without adding stories. When anxiety appears, we do not need to ask why we are like this. When fear arises, we do not need to eliminate it immediately. We simply need to recognize that this emotion is present. Morning is a very favorable time for this practice. When the mind has not yet been pulled into too many stimulations, observation becomes gentler. Instead of using energy to judge yourself, you use that energy to look. To look kindly, the way you might watch clouds drifting across the sky. The practice of this habit can begin right in the first moments of the day. When you notice anxiety in your chest, you simply acknowledge it softly. Ah, anxiety is present. No additional commentary is needed, no effort to push it away. Just naming it so you know you are seeing clearly. If irritation appears, you do the same. Ah, irritation is present. If sadness appears, you simply recognize it. Ah, sadness is present. Each time you acknowledge in this way, you create a small space between yourself and the emotional stream, not to escape it, but to avoid being completely carried away by it. When judgment falls away, the mind begins to soften. You start to see that emotions come and go, like waves. They are not you. They are temporary states. Inner strength does not come from controlling every emotion. It comes from the ability to stay present and see clearly without losing inner calm. This habit helps you take responsibility for your inner life in a very healthy way. You do not blame circumstances. You also do not punish yourself. You simply look, simply know, and from that knowing, the mind gradually becomes clearer and more stable each day. Habit 5. Nurturing the body like a temple. There's a simple truth that many people forget. The mind does not exist separately from the body. When the body is exhausted, the mind struggles to find calm. When the body is neglected, the mind gradually loses its place of support. Morning is the time when the body has just awakened after a long night. If we immediately pull the body into haste and tension, the mind will carry that rhythm throughout the entire day. In the original script, morning movement is seen as an important part of building strength. When this is brought into the spirit of Buddhism, movement is no longer about conquering the body or forcing it to improve. Movement becomes an expression of respect. The Buddha taught that this body is the refuge of the mind. If we do not care for this refuge, the mind cannot remain stable for long. Nurturing the body does not mean intense training or achieving an ideal appearance. It begins with attitude, the attitude of seeing the body as a temple, a place that should be entered with slowness and reverence. In the morning, when you allow the body to move gently, you are telling yourself that this body deserves to be listened to. The practice of this habit can be very simple. After waking up, take a few minutes to walk slowly. It may be inside your room. It may be in the yard. It may be along a familiar path near your home. As you walk, there is nowhere you need to get to. You simply feel each step touching the ground. Feel the body moving through space. Each step is a return. If walking is not convenient, you can gently stretch the body, slowly extend the arms, gently rotate the neck and shoulders. Bend forward just enough to let the back release. In each movement, pay attention to the sensations that are present. No forcing, no comparing, just listening. When the body shows signs of tension, you pause. When the body wishes to continue, you continue. In Buddhism, caring for the body is not indulgence. It is understanding limits. When you move in the morning with mindfulness, the body begins to warm and energy flows more freely. The mind softens along with it. You do not need to tell yourself to be stronger. The body will naturally show you what is enough. This habit helps you establish a new relationship with your body. No longer a relationship based on pressure or demands, but one rooted in respect and care. When the body is treated like a temple, the mind has a place to rest. And from that resting place, inner strength is nurtured naturally, without strain or force. Habit 6. setting an intention for the new day. Each morning, before the world has a chance to tell you what is urgent and what is important, your mind still holds a very brief, open space. That space is often filled quickly with work, messages, schedules, and demands from the outside. When there is no conscious choice, we step into the day being led, rather than choosing a direction for ourselves. In the original script, there is a strong idea that if we do not tell the mind what matters, the world will do it for us. When seen through the lens of Buddhism, this idea becomes gentler. It is not about controlling the day, but about orienting the mind. The Buddha taught that intention leads action. What we cultivate in the mind at the start of the day quietly influences the way we speak, the way we act, and the way we respond to whatever unfolds later. An intention is different from a goal. Goals focus on outcomes and often create pressure. An intention is simply a direction of the heart. It is like setting a compass before beginning a journey. We may not know exactly where today will take us, but we know the qualities we wish to walk with: peace, honesty, patience, kindness. When an intention is set, the mind has a place to return to whenever it is pulled away. Morning is the most suitable time for this practice because the mind has not yet been overly disturbed. You do not need to think for long. You do not need to find the perfect words. What matters most is sincerity. Notice what is most needed for you this morning. It may be slowness. It may be listening. It may be gentleness toward yourself. The practice of this habit is very simple. After sitting quietly or moving gently, take a moment to softly say a sentence that begins with "Today, I choose." For example, "Today, I choose to move more slowly," or "Today, I choose to speak gently," or "Today, I choose not to be hard on myself." This sentence does not need to be repeated many times. It only needs to be said once, with full presence. Throughout the day, when you encounter difficulty, you may remember this intention. Not to blame yourself if you forget, but to invite the mind back. When you react quickly, you can pause and recall what you chose this morning. When you feel tired, you can ask whether this action aligns with the direction you set. Setting an intention does not make the day perfect, but it gives the day a direction. Instead of being pulled by urgency, you are guided by awareness. When each morning begins with a small intention, the mind gradually forms the habit of choosing rather than reacting. And it is this repeated choosing that builds a quiet yet steady inner strength over time. Habit 7. Accepting discomfort as a teacher. There are mornings when you wake up feeling uneasy. The body feels heavy. The mind feels tired. A vague tension is present without a clear reason. Our familiar reflex is to push that feeling away as quickly as possible. We look for distraction. We blame ourselves. We hope it disappears so the day can move forward more lightly. Yet it is this resistance that allows suffering to linger. In the original script, there is a powerful idea that pain is the bridge to another version of yourself. When this is viewed through the lens of Buddhism, that bridge no longer carries the image of struggle or forceful willpower. The bridge is seen as a teacher. Suffering does not come to punish. It comes to point towards something that needs to be seen and understood. The Buddha stated clearly in his first teaching that suffering is the first truth. This is not pessimism. It is simply an honest description of human life. When we try to live without accepting suffering, we are resisting reality. When we allow suffering to be present, we begin to learn how to live more deeply and more truthfully. Morning is a very suitable time to practice this, because uncomfortable sensations are often most noticeable right after waking. Instead of immediately trying to escape them, you can experiment with a different attitude. The attitude of listening. You might gently ask yourself what this sensation is trying to tell you. There is no need for an immediate answer. Simply allow openness. Accepting discomfort does not mean giving up or resigning yourself to pain. Acceptance means adding no resistance. When the body is tired, you acknowledge that it is tired. When the mind feels heavy, you allow that heaviness to exist without attaching a story to it. In that moment, Suffering is no longer an enemy. It becomes a signal, a reminder that you need to care for yourself in a different way. The practice of this habit requires no complex technique. When discomfort appears in the morning, simply pause for a moment. Clearly feel the sensation in the body, in the chest, in the abdomen, in the shoulders. Do not analyze. Do not judge. Just stay with it for a few breaths. You may quietly acknowledge that you are aware of this discomfort. When you do not run away, something unexpected happens. The sensation begins to change. It may soften. It may shift. It may remain, but it no longer feels overwhelming. You begin to see that suffering is not a solid, fixed block. It is a process. And you can stay with that process without being swept away. Accepting suffering as a teacher builds inner strength in a very deep way. You no longer fear difficult mornings. You know that even within discomfort, something is guiding you toward deeper understanding of yourself. When you learn to stay with suffering without closing your heart, transformation begins to unfold naturally and steadily. Habit 8. Taking small steps without expecting immediate results. There's a reason so many people give up after only a few days of trying to change. It is not because they lack determination, but because they keep looking at results. One morning they sit quietly. Another morning they breathe slowly. Yet life looks the same. The mind is still anxious. The problems have not disappeared. And then a familiar question arises. If I keep doing this, when will I finally change? In the original script, the image of the bamboo tree is used as a powerful reminder. Some types of bamboo do not appear above the ground for many years. To an outside observer, there is nothing but empty soil. But underneath, the root system is quietly spreading and growing deep. When the roots are strong enough, the bamboo can rise very quickly in a short time. The growth is not a miracle. It is the result of a long process that no one sees. Buddhism views this process through the lens of cause and effect. The Buddha taught that when a cause is planted, the result will arrive at the right time. Not earlier, not later. When we plant seeds with impatience, we become discouraged. When we plant seeds with trust, we can remain patient. Our problem is not a lack of effort, but a lack of faith in the process. Morning is a very suitable place to practice this trust. When you sit quietly for a few minutes, when you take a few slow breaths, when you choose to slow down, you are planting a seed. That seed does not need to sprout today. It needs time. And what matters most is whether you continue to plant. This habit invites you to change a familiar question. Instead of asking when you will finally be different, you simply ask whether you planted today. Today, did I give a few minutes to my breath? Today, did I treat my body gently? Today, did I set an intention for the mind? This question brings you back to the present, the only place where you can act. The practice of this habit does not require adding anything new. It only requires a shift in perspective. Each morning, after practicing the previous habits, you remind yourself that today's task is simply to plant. You do not need to check how far you have come. You do not need to compare yourself to others. You do not need to judge whether you are doing well or not. When impatience arises, you can acknowledge it. The mind wants to see results. Then you return to the small action of today. Just like a gardener cannot make a tree grow faster by pulling on it. A gardener can only water the tree and trust the process. Taking small steps is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of understanding. When you accept that transformation takes time, you no longer lose energy to frustration. You become more consistent, more patient, and one day, when you look back, you will realize that you have changed deeply without forcing anything. Like the bamboo tree, you grow from within before rising tall on the outside. Habit 9. Protecting your morning energy. Morning is a very sensitive time for the mind. After a night of rest, the mind is like freshly turned soil, still soft and open to what is planted in it. Whatever enters in the first moments of the day leaves a long-lasting imprint. Many people do not notice this. They open their eyes and immediately let the news rush in. Heavy headlines, negative stories, images of comparison that quietly disturb the mind. The day has not truly begun, yet the energy is already drained. In the original script, there is an important idea about reviewing what we allow into our inner life. When viewed through the spirit of Buddhism, this is not about control or extreme cutting off. It is about mindfulness. The Buddha taught that whatever we water will grow. When we water anxiety, anxiety expands. When we water calm, calm is given the chance to take root. Morning is when we have the clearest ability to choose. We can choose to let our mind be swept into the current of the world right away, or we can choose to protect the inner space a little longer. Protection here is not fear. It is understanding that the mind needs proper nourishment. This habit begins with not taking in news too early. News itself is not wrong, but timing matters. When the mind is still fragile, such information easily creates worry and strong reactions. You can move news to another time of the day when the mind is more grounded. In the morning, you prioritize quiet and whatever helps you be fully present. Another important part of protecting morning energy is avoiding comparison. Comparison often happens very subtly. Just a quick glance at a few images or stories about other people's lives, and the mind starts asking where it stands. When comparison appears, a sense of lack follows, and from there, peace slowly slips away. The practice of this habit does not require you to live apart from the world. It simply invites you to place a small boundary around the morning. During the early part of the day, you choose not to read the news. You choose not to scroll social media. You choose to stay with the practices you have already planted, such as slow breathing, sitting in stillness, or gentle movement. When you preserve that quiet, you begin to notice that the mind feels more stable. You are no longer pulled too quickly by the emotions of others. You start to sense your own energy more clearly, and from that clarity, you gain the ability to choose more skillful responses when you step out into the world. Protecting morning energy is not selfish. It is an act of responsibility toward yourself. When the mind is nourished with what is wholesome, you have more to offer. You enter the day not in defense, but in awareness. And it is this awareness that allows inner strength to grow quietly and steadily over time. Habit 10. Beginning each day as day 1. Many people wake up in the morning without truly beginning a new day. They carry yesterday into today. They carry old mistakes. They carry what was left undone. They carry regret, self-blame, and heavy expectations placed on themselves. When a new day begins with the weight of the old one, the mind has little chance to renew itself. In the original script, there is a core idea called the Day 1 mindset. Every day is treated as the first day, not to erase the past, but to avoid being bound by it. When this idea is brought into the spirit of Buddhism, it feels very familiar. The Buddha taught that each morning is a new life. This is not romantic language, but a deep truth of lived experience. The present moment is always new. Only the mind becomes old when we continue to hold on to past stories. Morning is the most suitable time to practice letting go. Not letting go of responsibility, but letting go of self-condemnation. Whatever happened yesterday, whether good or bad, has already passed. If we continue to carry it, we are living in memory rather than in the life that is unfolding now. Inner strength does not come from straining to fix the past. It comes from the ability to be fully present. This habit invites you to see the morning as a newly opened door. When you wake up, you may take a moment to remind yourself that today is a fresh beginning. There is no need to say it out loud. A simple inner acknowledgement that you have a chance to begin again is enough. Not to redo your entire life, but to renew the way you show up. The practice of this habit begins by releasing yesterday's mistakes. If yesterday you reacted too quickly, if yesterday you spoke in a way you did not like, if yesterday you failed to keep the promises you hoped to keep, simply acknowledge that it happened and allow it to close. There is no need to analyze in the morning, no need for self-judgment. Morning is not a time for trial, it is a time for renewal. Then you remind yourself that today only requires living today. There is no need to worry about the entire week. No need to think about the whole year. Just ask a very simple question. Today, can I move a little more slowly? Today, can I be kinder to myself? Today, can I be truly present in what I do? When you begin the day as day one, the mind becomes much lighter. You are no longer pulled backward by the past, nor pushed too far ahead by the future. You stand here, in this morning, with full awareness. From that place, all the habits you have planted in the previous sections begin to connect. Beginning each day as day one does not make life immediately easier, but it makes life more real. When you no longer carry yesterday with you, you create space to live more fully today. And it is this fullness, repeated each morning, that creates a deep rebuilding. Quiet, unforced, yet strong enough to guide you into a different way of living, one day at a time. 2026 is not a year waiting somewhere ahead. 2026 is made up of mornings repeated each day. From the way you open your eyes, from the first breath you take, from whether you choose to return to yourself or continue running after old habits. Each morning that passes without presence is an old brick laid again. Each morning lived with awareness is a new foundation quietly forming. You do not need to become stronger by forcing yourself. You only need to return to yourself more consistently. Return through the breath. Return through listening. Return through kindness toward yourself. The Buddha taught that you are your own island. When you take refuge in inner awareness, you are no longer swept away by circumstances. If you have stayed until this moment, this morning, I return. Subscribe to begin each day with mindfulness.